Hello, good afternoon. Is it afternoon already? I think it's still morning. But anyways, yes. Hello everyone. It's been a while, and this is our first class after a very long time. I had a short video recently about entitled "Capable of Peace." So this could be maybe also touching on that subject a bit more. But with the coming classes, obviously, I'll be sharing enlightenment. Obviously, everything that I'm sharing is everything that I've experienced or I am experiencing, and I'm sharing to make the journey easier for someone else. So you don't feel alone or you feel like you're going crazy, because it's easy to think that way of yourself sometimes. So, yeah, this journey of self love and self discovery is very interesting. I've come to have a new theory that we only really understand a lot of things after the age of 30. Maybe the reason why we only starting to understand these things now or at these ages or at this age is because we are living in a time where we don't do things um, that we used to do before. Rite of passage, for example, when a girl becomes a woman, we don't do that anymore. When a boy becomes a man, we don't do those anymore. Yes, they're still kind of done, especially in South Africa, depending which culture or which tribe you're in. For example, me being Betty, I know that back home it's still done where boys are taken to the mountains. And it's not like here in Joburg where you go to a hospital and sign up for your child to be circumcised. If they find your child all out willy-nilly and they're going towards collecting kids for that phase, then it happens that way. You'll just get a message that your son is at the mountain or is at initiation school. Someone will come and bring the message to say so and so is now in initiation. This is what you guys need to prepare or take for him to do it. So I think great life cycles or life paths don't really need notice. They just happen when they're supposed to happen. And we are now living in a culture where we want to be notified of every little phase in our life that is coming. And I think that's what makes our lives a bit more harder or difficult to come to terms with certain changes in our lives. So, yes, before we start, let's start with prayer. Heavenly Father, please be with us today as we do this work, as we send this message across. Please speak through me. Speak through me to deliver the right and needed message to whoever needs it at this time, to help them and also to help myself. And this is also a show of me showing my gratitude of every lesson that you have taught me and brought to my life as a blessing thus far. I thank you for everything. I thank you for today. I thank you for life. I thank you for my breath. I thank you for my thoughts. I thank you for my actions. I thank you for my dreams. I thank you for my family. I thank you for even all the followers and subscribers to the channel. I thank you for working through me to do what I am here to do. Amen. Yeah. So yes, let's start. There's a lot to share. So in the last video, Capable of Peace, I mentioned how I'm now single and I'm back home just kind of restarting things. It didn't really come as a big life shock because I had been observing myself for the longest time while I was in my relationship. I was observing myself. I was observing my actions. And one of the first things that I did in starting my marriage relationship, because we had been on and off since 2018, was realizing my attraction to unavailable or emotionally unavailable men. And then I had to sit down and check, oh, okay, how did I grow up, how did my parents treat certain situations, and which inspired my book, She Waits, which is on Booksy. So if you want to check it out, go to Booksy and check out She Waits, a book by Auntie Makoko. So you can just check out Auntie Makoko under Booksy. And the book title is She Waits. I'm gonna be working. I'm just in thought process for now for the next book, and the title is I Heard Her, or I Hear Her, something along those lines. But She Waits is mostly about how, and funny enough, my partner didn't even read it, but it's okay. So the book is about how we leave situations thinking we have really left them. So in my instance, or should I say in my story, I left the relationship before, and I thought I had left, and coming back, I thought I was coming back a completely different person, right? But then I realized that the same person, I had left myself behind. I left myself behind in a sense that I went out thinking I changed, came back a whole new person, and then I came back and I realized, oh damn, the still same me is still waiting for me. Because I mean, first of all, why are you back? Right? Why are you back? And in you being back, what have you learned? What are you now going to do? The new you that left, how are you now going to explain yourself to the you that you left behind? Because we bring ourselves into situations and we hardly make the time to consciously take our spiritual selves away from those situations as well. And we go out thinking that we are moving on, or we are healing, or we are progressing, whereas we're just forgetting our old selves without fixing anything. So that's what inspired the book. So anyways, I had started that process, and I won't lie and say that it was bad. It wasn't completely bad. It's just sometimes we meet people, and we've all had our traumas, we've all had our issues, but not everyone wants to work through their issues. Not everyone wants to progress through and out of it. And sometimes we make life decision or changing decisions, but we don't really change. They are just there as pacifiers of what's really going on. So not taking anything away from my ex. He's a great man and an amazing person. It's just that I needed more for myself. And I realized that I had given so much of myself that it became impossible for him to be there for me when he needed to be, especially in the same way that I'd been there for him, if that makes sense. That happens sometimes where things just fall out of tune because now I'm expecting the same that I've been given, and it's not given. And when you expect it, you're told that, nah, bruh, you're not gonna get it. I'm not here for that. And we can boo-hoo about it and say, oh, that's unfair, that's unbalanced, that's whatnot, that's selfish. But no one asked me to be there. No one asked me to understand his traumas. No one asked me to understand them to a point where I'd forgive certain actions, certain treatments, certain words, certain backlash, and certain behaviors. No one asked me to do any of that. So I just reached a point one day where I was like, actually, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm good. I'm out. So that's that. And this thing of not giving ourselves room to deal with ourselves is dangerous. And I am just grateful that I was so patient with myself in trying to understand where I'm at spiritually, and mindfully and emotionally too. And I was so calm throughout the whole process of me really understanding what it is that I'm going through, or what it is that is happening just dealing with myself and not in any way trying to blame the relationship or him or anything. I was really just looking at myself and my own fuck ups like, wow, mama, wow, no one forced you to come back. Why did you keep coming back? Because, yeah, it was me coming back. No one was forcing me to. I could have just easily moved on 4 years ago or 6 years ago. And he would have carried on with his life. And I would have carried on with my life. So no one forced me to come back. No one at all. But anyways, so now being back home and having to deal with myself and come to terms with the change in my life, which I am open for because there's room for me to do the things that I want to do or the things that I've been planning to do or the person that I've been wanting to be with my life. And the great thing is I'd already planted some of these seeds for me to be able to do these things on my own or with my life. So I was ready to even, because coming back, I tried to adjust in a way of giving into my current situation in a way that was shunning away from my purpose or with all the work that I've done thus far, especially since becoming fully independent and not working anymore. And I'd almost just went back into that hole, and then I had to remember my purpose yet again. So I'm happy with that. And now it's kind of hard to relate to family, not every family member, but family and somewhat friends. There's only really been one friend where I actually broke everything down to her as to what happened, how it happened, what I see now, what I've learned, where I fucked up, and all of that. And she's my closest friend, my closest friend. We don't see each other often. And the last time I saw her was in 2023. Before 2023, it was maybe 2018, not even 2018, maybe 2016. But anyways, all the other people that I have in my life, so-called friends, I've only shared the bare minimum because firstly, it's none of their business, and also they won't relate. They really won't. I can't talk leaving a relationship that was for building a life together and marriage-wise. I can't discuss that with someone who's never walked that path or never taken that type of commitment or decided to take that type of commitment. We won't align, we won't get each other. And most people, when you start, they can come and ask you how you are and only for them to tell you about themselves. It's as if now that I am single, it's a free pass for people to now come and load their problems back to me, because like being in a relationship that serious, a lot of people stay away and they'll respect you enough to say, oh, you're in a marriage now, I can only see you when I can see you. I can't always just because you're busy in your marriage. That's so strange, because that's the same respect we should give each other throughout. But anyways, now that I'm single, people would come approaching me thinking they can now just come and tell me about their shit. And I've been humbly and gracefully unavailable for that. Yeah, I'm not interested in other people's problems, to be honest. Only a select few, and these are people where I feel it's a very fair give and take. So that's where we're at with that. So in my absence of relation or relating or finding someone or people that I can relate, especially what I'm going through with. Not that we need to find people who are going through exactly what you're going through to express it or vent it or whatever. I'm not big on venting all the time. It's because I've gone through the process of understanding what was going on and dealing with myself throughout, which is why I was able to reach the decision to say, okay, we've reached our end now. There's nothing more that I can give. There's nothing more of myself that I'm willing to give towards this. So in that, whereas before that, this is the Gitomila had already started going to church I'd already began that journey. So, all these things that were happening to me all this time for the past year and couple of months, now I realize that I was being prepared for this phase, and I'll explain what this phase is. From quitting cigarettes, and then whenever I tried to drink, I'd react somehow. So now drinking, I entered with caution now. And then the weed cut down, that was the biggest one. So having to deal with self in a sober state, I needed that. And as much as I didn't admit it to myself that no, I want to really deal with my emotions. Sometimes, the beauty of starting your own healing journey is as soon as you decide to start it, it'll deal with it how it needs. It'll deal with you how it needs to deal with you. You don't have to understand everything that is happening. As soon as you started, it has began. So all you have to do is to be constant in it and not just use it as a disposable tool. Once you say you want to do better, you want to feel better, you want to see better in your life, then you have no choice but to also meet that decision halfway with letting go of a lot of things along the way. So you can't say you want to change but still do the same shit. You can't say you want to change but still, see the same people all the time, or give the same time that you used to give to people. Like your time is your worth too. So even how you spend it needs to change, which is one of the first signs of showing how far you are coming in your evolution of self-discovery and realization and conceptualization. So I had started going to church. My partner and I had suggested that we go to church, and then we started going to the church that he grew up in. So we'd go maybe once or twice a month. I think it was from last year, towards the end of last year. That's when we started doing that. So now that I'm back here, I then started going to a church that's closer here. And this is a church that I saw a lot of visions with, the seeing the women wearing that uniform. And I just visited that church during COVID. And when I visited that church, I was going through some crazy-ish. I wasn't well. My wrist was swollen. Just mysteriously, and I'd gone to doctors. They'd done the tests and they were suspecting it was arthritis, but it wasn't. Every test that they did came out clean. And if you know, some when something is spiritual, the physical will just come out clean. However, it doesn't mean that if ever you feel sick, you must just say, oh, it's something spiritual. You must just do diligence and go see a doctor. So anyways, after doing all of that, one Sunday I decided to go to the church. I went to the church and there was a guest speaker. He's actually a well-known celebrity therapist now. And after the service, I went to him. I was just drawn to him. And he told me that, from the moment you walked in here, I felt your presence. I felt your spirit. I felt you. And I said, oh, okay, nice. Likewise, I also kind of resonated with you. Because the nice thing about him was, because I was nervous going to church, being who I am, right? So hearing this guy talking about him being gay, him being a healer, and a pastor, I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So after that service, we're just chatting a bit. And then I was about to tell him that, no, my wrist is just, and he just told me that, no, you just need to get a gold bangle for this wrist. And he explained other things. And it just so happened that I had my late grandmother's gold bracelet that she had left in my room before she passed, because she used to visit a lot, but she had left it in my room. So I put it on, and lo and behold, the next day I was healed. So okay, now that I'm back, so I go back to church. Go back to this church. I went to the 8 to 9 service, which is a bit more, which is the white service. So it was 1 hour. I was happy with that, but I wasn't moved, I wasn't moved. And then that Wednesday, that was the Ash Wednesday service. I went there and I got a lift from one of the members because he was passing my area on his way to where he was going. He asked, "But how come I don't know you? I've never seen you around here." And I told him, "No, I actually started coming to this church very young. I used to come to the Sunday services very young while I was still in primary school. And that's where I got my Bible, this Bible, you see. At some point, I'd thrown this Bible away because it was wet. And my mom told me that, nope, you don't throw Bibles away. So I'm grateful for my mom. She took it as her own Bible, and I ended up taking it for myself. Yeah, so here it is. I was given this Bible in 1996. I was 10 years old when I was given this Bible. So this Bible is 28 years with me. I never counted, actually. So yeah, I told him that. He's like, "No, I've never seen you. You must come to the 10 o'clock service. That's the best service." Okay, cool. So I decided to go to the 10 o'clock service, which is more vernac. It's Xhosa, Tswana, because this is a Methodist church and I enjoyed it. So now here's the conflict and the point of this whole class. So the title of this class is about how we actually find ways, spiritual ways of running away from ourselves. The spiritual methods or ways or tricks that we pull on ourselves just in avoidance of our true selves. So going to church, obviously they're going to mention Jesus, right? And I have this conflict or dilemma of trying to understand how Jesus can be my Lord and Savior and above God, right? More than anything, as if you've been following my teachings, I always talk about how you're your own God. There's no God above you because you are the creator of your own reality, and God creates things as per the book of Genesis, right? God spoke things into existence. So even with you, you make your reality happen yourself and how you speak to yourself and how you just treat your own life, right? So that makes you out a God. Everything first happens with you before it happens to you. So that makes us gods. That goes without saying. So then now, how do I make this Jesus guy my Lord and Savior? Above God sometimes, or it's God, Jesus, and then me. And then somewhere in between, I must forget, as Christianity is sold. It's not what Christianity says, it's how people sell Christianity to say, if you're a Christian, then you denounce yourself of your ancestry, which doesn't make sense. And I'll keep saying, as some Christians sell Christianity, not what Christianity says. That is not what Christianity says, because in certain books of the Bible, they do talk about other beings being there, elders, for example, that and this is in the New Testament, that represent ancestors. So in the Holy Book, our ancestors in this case can be Jacob, can be Abraham, can be Moses, can be David. Those are ancestors of that religion. So if this religion celebrates its ancestors, then why can't I celebrate mine? Why can't I acknowledge mine? So anyways, while I started this process of going to church, I started asking people, it's like, I don't understand this Jesus thing and where he comes in. And you know what they said? All of them. Once it hits you, it hits you. Yeah, that's what they said to me. Once it hits you, it hits you. It's like someone saying, yeah, with true love, once it happens, you will know. Like, what nonsense is that? That's that's someone just basically saying, I don't know, bruh. I don't know. You're like, you'll figure it out. Just like, I don't know how to explain it. I'd appreciate if someone had along the way said to me, I don't know how to explain it to you, which someone did say, I don't know how to explain it to you. And then they said, you just have to experience it to know it. So in essence, I guess what they're saying is it's a decision you make. You make that decision to say, Jesus is my Lord and Savior. And each to their own, right? So, okay, cool. I then realized that, and you know, the beauty of seeking knowledge, that knowledge finds you somehow. It always just finds you, or maybe that's just the geek that I am. I'm not I'm not ignorant to that extent, and I enjoy going to church. I enjoy the services. I enjoy the singing. I enjoy the messages that come there. And as I always teach, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. So, in my enjoying the services, I'm still wondering about this Jesus thing. There'd be times where they say, in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I don't say that. I do not say that. And the Sunday before I decided that I'm leaving my marriage, I was sitting with my ex's grandmother as we had gone to church with her. And then we came to her house and had lunch, and I asked her about this whole Jesus thing, and she said she doesn't believe it. She doesn't believe it. She doesn't practice. She doesn't understand it. And she's been going to church for many, many years. So it just made me wonder how many more people actually believe in that. And I realized that it's still up to the individual what they choose and how they want to go about it. So I realized as time went on, because it's now 2 months in of me asking this question about Jesus and where he comes in, and whether I'll be able to reach a point where I'm like, oh, Jesus, or I'll be wearing a cross, and as much as over time, even sometimes I catch myself after praying, I do that, which is a Catholic thing. Or I do that because it's something that I've learned over time and I picked up. The Holy Trinity thing, I do it, but I'm still trying to understand where Jesus comes in without being ignorant or denouncing everything completely. So I still left room to know or understand what's really going on. So anyways, I even wrote this down so I don't lose my train of thought. I realized that Jesus is mainly a personification of faith. By that I mean Jesus is just to some, as I'm still learning, but from the research that I've done and the people who are Christian that I've observed, Jesus is just a personification of themselves. Because we as human beings, we want something that seems familiar for us to feel safe, for us to feel understood, or for us to feel like we belong. So Jesus is a personification of faith. So some people only attach their faith to Jesus Christ. Some people are so scared to even just say I. They'll say I learned this, or I let go of this through Jesus Christ. Where if you think about it, if you remove through Jesus Christ and say I, myself, knowing and understanding that I am a God, everything is possible through me, made A, B, and C possible. But without taking away the power from, is it Baharam or whatever we choose to call him, or it. Let me not say him. I'm trying to refrain from genderifying it or labeling it in that sense. I'll say Ra, because Ra is something that I can see and I do really understand, because the sun comes out and the sun gives life, right? And also the moon also gives life in its own way. So I'd rather label something that I see and I understand as also being sorry about that. Yes, so I realized that Jesus is mainly a personification of faith. We just seek something familiar to feel understood or content. So now touching on the subject of ancestors, right? So now a lot of Christians denounce ancestors. And I also realized that, and it's something that I've been always teaching, that there's no such thing of you worshipping. That's the problem with worship. Actually, let me get my dictionary to find the meaning of the word worship. Let me get that. So I got my trusted dictionary here. So the word worship, worshiping, worshipped. It's a show religious devotion to, love and admire, act or insistence of worshiping. So I just want to check devotion. There are kids who are standing outside my gate just to annoy my dog. So to devote is to apply or to dedicate a particular purpose, showing loyalty or devotion. That is worshiping. So I've realized that some Christians do that because of how Christianity is sold, not what Christianity is. I don't believe that Christianity says denounce yourself from your ancestors. It doesn't do that. Because as we also say as Africans, this Christianity thing, which is also wrong, where we say it came with white people. No, it didn't. It's something that always existed in Africa. It's just, it became a whole movement like any other thing. But then, because praising God and devoting ourselves to God has always been something that we've done. We've always known how to pray, and we've always had the rituals. We've always had the ceremonies and all those things that have been happening. Because as much as now people say, yeah, worshiping ancestors is you doing certain rituals and all of that. Even Christianity has rituals like Ash Wednesday, the Lenting, whatnot. That is a ritual. Those are rituals. So now the mistake that we are now, this whole story of how Christianity came with the Caucasians to Africa, and they taught us that, no, take away this thing of you making time to worship. And there's a difference between worshiping and acknowledging. So for the mere fact that you'd have an altar or a shrine in your home or your yard that pays homage or respect to the people of your bloodline that have been there before you, should not, it's impossible for it to be viewed as anything that is demonic or anything that takes you away from the true purpose of being God's child or being a chosen one, or we are all chosen. So, and then it's told that, no, just forget about everything that your forefathers and everyone have been doing before you. Now you're only going to make time to worship this God. Which God? This God, which doesn't even look like any of us. How Christianity is sold. Not what Christianity is, but how Christianity has been sold by individuals who are humans just like you and I. Nothing that came out of the ground that we each saw to say, okay, this is something that just came out of nowhere to come and tell me about this thing that I don't understand. No, they all came through a vagina. They came through vaginas, and they came the same way that you came, the same way your kids came, the same way that even generations from your bloodline are still going to come to this earth. Fact, right? Okay, so now demonic, yes, that's another word that I want to look up. Let's look up demonic, because now our ancestors are deemed as demonic. So I was saying that I've realized that people who were really deep into what they call ancestries or amadlozi, and which is something that I also have been against, to say, hey, no, it doesn't work that way, where you are every day saying idlozi liti, idlozi in everything, funa idlozi. There are classes where I'm talking about, like, no, those people don't want to be bothered every day, where you are constantly going and paddling and talking and saying, I need, oh, this is what happened. Nah, bruh, it doesn't work that way, because those people are a part of you. So everything that you say and do, they are aware of. Okay, demonic or demon. Né? It's an evil spirit, a person who does something with great energy or skill. Appearing to be possessed by a devil. Frenzied. Let's see what frenzy means. We always hear the word, but do we really know what it means? Frenzy, violent mental derangement. Wow. The mere fact that we keep saying these things and we don't really understand what they mean. So if we understand the word demonic as Christianity is sold to us about our ancestors or against our ancestors, it's saying if we make time to acknowledge, not worship. Because when you do that, when you have a shrine or an altar where once in a while, or when needs be, you communicate with the people of your bloodline that have passed. It is not worshipping. It is you acknowledging their existence here on this earth. It is you paying homage that, and the fact that if they were not here, you wouldn't be here too. So it's you being aware that you have to carry on the bloodline, and you are asking of them to bring the light for you as they have lived this life and they understand it, right? Because they were also human. So what people are now doing, they're replacing those humans with another human being, Jesus Christ. Being Jesus Christ. So they replace that with a whole other person being Jesus Christ, where even to this day we don't understand how he came to be. His existence is sold to us as if he came here through a mystery. And if we do our research and understand he really did exist, this guy was born here through a vagina, just like any one of us. He was a carpenter, a normal man who was living his own journey under God and under faith and under his own purpose. He lived his own purpose, this guy. He lived his own purpose. And he was willing to let it just happen. I mean, at that point, he prophesied how he was going to leave this earth. And to this day, do you not know of anyone who somehow told you that they were going to die before they died, who somehow said their goodbyes before they died? Jesus did that. How many other people did that you know, that we all know of? We can even call celebrities who have recorded albums and songs where they've actually said goodbye to us. So is that a Jesus complex, or is that just how life works for us as human beings? So that's just to show us that the same way that he bled, that you can bleed too today. So let's look at acknowledge. Okay, so now you are told that no, praising your ancestors is demonic. So as I was saying, we told that that whole story was brought to us by Caucasians when they came here with the Bible, which again, as I've said before, the Bible did not come with the Caucasians, and if they did carry it, they only got to touch it thousands of years after we Africans had the books. Because their ancestors came here to learn everything from our ancestors and took it back only to bring it back and sell it to us as their own. ACK. So to acknowledge, to admit, to recognize, indicate recognition of a person. Say one has received. So okay, sharp. Let's play along with the story that the Caucasians are the ones who came with the Bible and they taught us Christianity to tell us, no, you're losing your way. You praising your ancestors is demonic. Now that you understand what demonic means evil spirit. So demonic meaning witchcraft. It's talking about witchcraft. The Bible or Christianity is telling us to shy away from witchcraft, having bad intentions for other people, getting into certain rituals and ways of worship that are against another person. That is what they meant. That's all it's saying. Have a light heart. Like your heart must be lighter than a feather. Have good intentions. That is all it was saying. It wasn't saying that you must now denounce yourself of your grandmother, your great-grandmother, your great-grandfather, or your mother, or your father. That's not what we're saying. So anyways, so as we claim that these white people are the ones who came with the Bible and they enslaved us. Because even with the whole slavery thing, we need to do our research on that. So they enslaved us with the book. Okay, so my question is, do you not think that white people visit the graveyard of their past loved ones? Do you think white people just bury their people and they don't visit the graveyard ever? Do you think that white people in their families don't have certain rituals that they do on a constant? For example, if they have a grandfather who used to have a certain song that he sang every time on birthdays or family gatherings, and once he's gone, then they do it in remembrance of that person. Is that not a ritual? It's not the same as you, every time there's a new child in the family, we slaughter a chicken in celebration like our great grandmother did. Is that not the same thing? And how is that demonic? So, to get to the basis of this whole class, what I'm trying to say or teach is, this is what I wrote down. Ancestors, we make the mistake, we as Africans, by replacing our ancestors with Jesus, which really has no logic in it. How can you replace the people that you know are part of your bloodline with a figure that you yourself still do not understand how he came to be to this earth? We are still boggled by the logic lacking story of Jesus Christ and how he came here. And you would rather replace that to fit where you have certain people that you know for sure came here because of so and so and so and so, and you have their bloodline. So the fact is, unfortunately, because ancestors are your bloodline, you cannot escape them no matter what you do. You cannot escape your ancestry at all. No matter what you do, you can call Jesus Christ in replacement of calling him, in replacement of calling your grandparents or whoever. Even that, if Christianity is selling it as demonic, that is also demonic. Why would you want to bother Jesus all the time? Do you not think Jesus also wants a break from all of us on a constant basis? Why can we not just deal with him when we're at church? So every day, Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ. Is it not the same? Did this man not live here on this earth? Should he not be resting in peace either? And who said he said? Are we sure that this guy actually sacrificed himself? He didn't sacrifice himself, if you read the story, and if we are logical. He was captured and killed. He didn't take himself there. He was ready to be captured because he saw his end of days. Just like any other living person to this day, most people know when they're about to leave us. So all the prophecies that he shared with his disciples was him prophesying his end of days. So it's nothing new from your grandmother who called the family a week before she passed on to tell you guys certain things or give you guys certain messages. It is no different from that. So Jesus did not sacrifice himself to save us. Jesus understood that his time had come to an end. He had lived his life. That's it. That is it. That is it. And I'll leave it there. So, going back to ancestries, your bloodline cannot be escaped by you replacing one God with another. Because first of all, your ancestors, no one told you to make your ancestors your God. That's where a lot of you get it wrong. That's why you're quick to say, no, I don't believe in ancestors anymore. I believe in Jesus. It's because you are quick to blame your ancestors for every wrong thing that happened in your life, going to them for every little thing in your life, whereas you are escaping dealing with yourself. So if you have not made the room to start dealing with yourself, you are always going to keep replacing your self-godliness with something else. If it's not your ancestors, Badimu, Idlozi, what, it'll be Jesus Christ. If it's not Jesus Christ, it'll be Buddha. If it's not Buddha, it's going to be Allah. It'll always be something or someone else or another God. And also to an extent where you replace that your godly state with other things or other gods, relationships too. You can replace your self-godliness with a person, a living person. That's why we can get into toxic relationships, just so that we can feel that we can apply our faith to this relationship working out, whereas it is doomed from the beginning. So it's the same thing. That's why a lot of people, after realizing that they've been making a lot of, myself too, after realizing that, nah, man, this whole relationshiping thing is not working out, let me just go to church. Let me just go speak to God, because only He can understand where I'm at. He knows what's been going on. I don't want to speak to no human being about my loss of my marriage. I can't speak to any other human being, and I don't really feel like it. So let me just go to church to sing and get a message, come back home and live my life and look forward to the next week. That's why we do that. That's why a lot of us do that. It's because we are replacing, it's because we are realizing that the relationship we had, we treated it like a god. We treated the relationship like a god, because almost every day you'd apply faith where you don't need to, thinking that things will get better. But the only faith that you need to apply is to self. And the only way to practice faith is by making the decisions that change your life. That's it. And choices that change your past decisions. That's the only way. So, as I said, your bloodline cannot be escaped by replacing one God with another, first of all. And your cycle will follow you and continue until you stop running away from yourself. So as I'm saying, you can't run away from your ancestors. That's impossible. You can't run away from your bloodline or the cycles that are within your bloodline until you decide to deal with yourself. If y'all fall for the wrong man all the time, the cycle is going to continue. Or the cycle is going to continue. Or that cycle is going to continue. Or laziness, that cycle is going to continue. Whatever it is that you're trying to run away from, it'll keep following you until you make the grand decision to sit down and deal with self. That's it. So, as I said, we can also make people our gods. For example, relationships, toxic or unhealthy relationships that constantly need to have faith that they will get better. And also something like jobs. We can replace our self-godliness with going into jobs that don't serve us. And then every day you are dreading waking up to go to this place. Every month you are complaining, hey, this money is not enough. Every time you're in the office or at work, like, you're not happy. It's just toxic. It's not. The only way for that to change would be what? To resign, right? But you're scared to resign because you're like, if I resign, where will I get this 3,000 rands every month? But if you have faith in yourself, first of all, you'll quit the job even before you get another job, because you yourself know your capabilities. But everything has to come from purpose. Purpose. If each of us had made the room or make the room to understand our life purpose, we would be shying away from replacing our self-godliness with other people, with Jesus, with our ancestors, with jobs that don't serve us, with friendships that don't serve us. And even, I'll go and take it to a higher point or another level of saying, even substances that we replace having to deal with ourselves with. It can be alcohol, it can be cigarettes, it can be weed, it can be even gym, for example. It can be food, it can be sex. And also the fear of being alone. Okay, so in closing, all I'm saying is we need to stop running away from ourselves. Sometimes we use spirituality or religion as an excuse because we are clearly and honestly all just running away from ourselves. We are avoiding ourselves. We keep avoiding ourselves. It's like the Bob Marley song, you're running and you're running and you're running away, but you cannot run away from yourself. He who feels it knows it more. Only you know your pain, so only you can get yourself out of it. Only you can get yourself out of it. So you can't replace one God with another. You are your own God. Everything that you experience is because of your own decisions. You are the creator of your own reality. So even if I can pray and say, God, please give me A, B, C, D. How? God won't just give me those things. That's impossible. Those things don't just happen. It is all just based on certain decisions and choices that I myself make to make those things come to fruition. It's all up to self. So let's stop trying to replace having to make the time for ourselves with Jesus, with Badimu, with relationships, with friendships, with weed, with cigarettes, with whatever, alcohol, with sex, whatever it is. Just making time for yourself to say, okay, God, what are you saying now? Okay, what do I need to do? Okay, what is the lesson here for me? Nothing changes until you do, or nothing changes unless you do. Everything is a decision and everything is a choice. So we need to stop running away from ourselves. That's it. That's all I have to say.